There is something strange that happens inside a person when they miss someone but refuse to admit it. They don't call. They don't text. They don't reach out. But they show up, in ways so subtle, most people never notice. They check your profile at midnight. They react to a story you posted 3 days ago. They bring up your name in a conversation you weren't even part of. Missing someone and admitting you miss them, those are two completely different things. And what lies between those two things is where the truth hides. Today, we're going to go there. Because if someone has gone quiet on you, if someone has pulled back, created distance, or acted like they've moved on, this video might completely change how you read that silence. Silence reveals everything. If you know how to listen, you know that feeling. Someone who was once close, a person who used to text you first, who used to laugh with you, who made you feel like you mattered, suddenly becomes distant. Quiet. Cold, even. And your mind starts working against you. Did I do something wrong? Have they forgotten me? Did I mean nothing to them? You check their profile. You replay conversations. You look for clues in their last message, trying to decode something that might not even be there. It's exhausting. And it's lonely. But here's what most people never consider in those quiet, spiraling moments. Distance is not always indifference. Sometimes, distance is the loudest form of feeling. The people who miss you the most are often the ones who will never say it directly. Not because they don't feel it, but because feeling it scares them. Because admitting it makes them vulnerable. Because they've been hurt before, and the heart remembers pain longer than it remembers promises. So what do they do instead? They leave signs. Unconscious ones. Behavioral ones. Emotional ones. And today, we're going to decode every single one. Psychology shows us something fascinating about the human brain when it comes to attachment and loss. When we develop a genuine emotional connection with someone, when that person becomes woven into our daily thoughts, our comfort, our sense of self, losing that connection doesn't simply erase them from our mind. It does the opposite. The brain begins to search. It scans for reminders. It replays memories. It creates what psychologists call an activation pattern. Your nervous system stays alert for any trace of that person, almost like a radar that hasn't been turned off. This is why people who miss someone cannot fully disappear, even when they try. The feeling is bigger than their decision to stay silent. And that feeling leaks. Through behavior. Through timing. Through the small, almost invisible things they do when they think no one is paying attention. The human mind reacts this way because emotional bonds don't break clean. They fray. They linger. And that lingering, that pull, reveals itself in patterns. Silence reveals everything. You just have to know the signs. This is the most common sign, and the one most people completely misread. They don't text you. They don't call. They seem to have moved on. But then, you post a photo and they're the first to view your story. You share something and they quietly like it without saying a word. You haven't spoken in weeks, but somehow they are always there, somewhere at the edges of your digital life. This is called orbiting. And it is one of the clearest signals of unexpressed longing. Think about it from a behavioral psychology standpoint. We naturally stop monitoring the lives of people we no longer care about. We unfollow, we mute, we let them fade. It requires no effort to not pay attention. But orbiting, silently watching from a distance, takes deliberate awareness. It means they are still checking. Still noticing. Still keeping the door unlocked in their mind, even if they haven't walked back through it yet. Imagine someone, let's call him Daniel. He and a woman he deeply cared about stopped speaking after a misunderstanding. Months passed. No messages. He told himself he was over it. But every morning, without even realizing it, he opened her profile. He watched her stories. He noticed when she changed her photo. He wasn't over it. He was just afraid to be the one to say so first. Observe the orbit. It tells you everything about where someone's heart still lingers. Pay close attention to this one. When someone misses you but won't admit it, they will find the most casual, the most low-stakes reasons to make contact. They send you a meme. They forward you something they thought you'd find interesting. They reply to a story you posted 6 hours ago with a single emoji. They text you something completely random, a memory, a question that doesn't really need an answer. Hey, random, but I saw this and thought of you. On the surface, it looks like nothing. Casual. Meaningless, even, but here is what psychology tells us about this behavior. When someone suppresses the urge to say I miss you, that emotion doesn't disappear. It finds a side door. A safer, lower-risk way to make contact without exposing vulnerability. Without handing the other person the power to reject them, the random text is never really random. It is a test. A quiet signal. A way of saying I'm still thinking about you while maintaining the armor of casualness. A woman once told me that after her and someone she loved stopped talking, she spent 3 weeks convincing herself she didn't care. Then one Tuesday afternoon she sent him a photo of a restaurant they'd once talked about visiting. Just a photo. No explanation. Just sent it. She said she didn't even realize what she was doing until after she pressed send. That's what missing someone looks like from the inside. It sneaks past your own defenses before you even notice it. If someone keeps finding small, almost meaningless reasons to reach out, the reason is never small. And it is never meaningless. This sign doesn't happen in your direct interactions. It happens in rooms you're not even in. When someone misses you, your name carries weight for them. Emotional weight. And the body doesn't lie. Psychology shows us that emotional responses are largely involuntary. A slight tension in the jaw. A pause that lasts half a second too long. Eyes that flicker when your name comes up. A change in posture. A sudden quietness where there was conversation. These are micro-expressions, tiny, almost invisible emotional leaks that happen before the conscious mind can compose itself. People who are indifferent to someone feel nothing when that person's name is mentioned. They move on. They keep talking. There is no disruption, but people who are secretly missing someone, their body reacts before their mind can stop it. Think about someone who goes very still when your name comes up in a group. Or someone who suddenly changes the subject. Or someone who asks a casual follow-up question, "Oh, how are they doing?" in a voice that's trying too hard to sound like it doesn't matter. That reaction, that involuntary shift in energy, is the emotional truth breaking through the surface. Observe. Detach. Control. Watch people when they don't think they're being watched. That's when you'll see what they actually feel. Here is a quiet, deeply revealing sign that most people overlook entirely. They remember the small things, not the big moments. Anyone can remember those. But the details. The things you mentioned once, in passing, that you barely remember saying yourself. They remember a book you said you wanted to read. They remember a place you mentioned wanting to visit. They remember that you don't like a certain food, or that you always feel anxious on Sunday evenings, or that your favorite season is autumn because of something you said once, months ago. When someone genuinely misses you, their mind has been replaying your conversations. Going over them. Sitting inside them. And in that process, the small details get absorbed. This is not a coincidence. It is not just a good memory. It is evidence of where their attention has been living. The human mind does not memorize what it doesn't care about. We retain what matters to us emotionally. What we revisit. What we hold. If someone remembers the quiet, small, easily forgettable things you said, understand that your words have been with them long after the conversation ended. Silence reveals everything. So does memory. This sign confuses people more than almost any other. One day, a warm, engaging. It feels like whatever distance existed has melted away. They are present, attentive, almost like the old version of them, the version you remember. Then the next day, they pull back again. Cold. Distant. Quiet. And you're left wondering which version is real. Which one to trust. Here's the psychological truth behind this pattern. Inconsistency is almost never about you. It is almost always a reflection of an internal war. On one side, the feeling, the genuine pull, the missing, the emotional connection that hasn't faded. On the other side, the fear of being vulnerable again, of being rejected, of losing control over their own emotions. When the feeling wins, they lean in. They are warm. They reach out. When the fear wins, they retreat. They go cold. They create distance to protect themselves. Imagine a pendulum, swinging between connection and self-protection, between what they feel and what they are afraid to feel. That pendulum, that push and pull, is one of the most honest signals that someone is fighting a battle inside themselves. And at the center of that battle is you. What most people don't realize is that people who truly feel nothing are perfectly consistent. Indifference is calm. Indifference is flat. It is caring, suppressed, unspoken, unresolved caring, that creates the storm. Observe. Detach. Control. Don't chase the warm version. Don't panic during the cold version. Simply observe the pattern. The pattern is the truth. This sign is subtle. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. When someone misses you, they become quietly invested in your life, even from a distance. They notice when you're doing well. They see when you've grown. They watch you becoming something, building something, moving forward. And here is where it gets psychologically fascinating. This observation often triggers one of two responses in them. The first is a kind of quiet pride, a warmth they feel on your behalf, even if they say nothing. Even if you never know they felt it. The second is something more uncomfortable, a restlessness. A feeling that stirs something unresolved in them. Because watching you thrive without them, watching you move forward while they stayed still, that has a way of making the missing feel louder. Psychology calls this reactance, the psychological discomfort that arises when we feel we might permanently lose something we still value. And nothing activates reactance more powerfully than watching someone you still care about begin to flourish. Suddenly the silence feels less comfortable. Suddenly the distance feels like a choice they are reconsidering. This is why so many people come back, not when you're struggling, not when you're reaching out, but exactly when you've stopped waiting for them. Exactly when you've started healing and building and growing. Your growth disturbs their silence. And that disturbance is just another word for missing you, and this is the deepest sign of all. Time passes. Weeks. Maybe months. And yet, if you look carefully, you'll notice that they haven't truly filled the space you left behind. The conversations they have don't quite go as deep. The people they spend time with don't quite make them laugh the same way. There's a quietness in them, not depression, not longing they wear openly, but a subtle absence. Like a room with furniture rearranged, but still feeling somehow incomplete. The human mind is remarkable in its ability to hold people. To keep a space warm for someone even when logic says to let it go. Even when pride says to move on. Missing someone is not always dramatic. It is not always tears or visible heartbreak. Sometimes it is simply the inability to fully replace what someone made you feel. And no amount of distraction, new connections, or forced moving on can imitate what was genuine. If they haven't found what you gave them in anyone else, if there is still a quiet, unfilled space, that is perhaps the most honest sign of all. Silence reveals everything. Emptiness speaks loudest of all. So here is what I want you to take with you. Missing someone is one of the most human things that exists. It is not weakness. It is not pathetic. It is the evidence of something real that happened between two people. But we live in a world that has taught people to hide it. To perform indifference. To act unbothered. To protect themselves behind silence and distance and casual detachment, even when something inside them is anything but casual. And so the signs appear. Not in grand gestures. Not in confessions. But in the orbit. In the random text. In the way their energy shifts when your name fills a room. In the small details they quietly held onto. In the inconsistency of someone fighting their own feelings. In the restlessness your growth stirs in them. In the space that remains unfilled. You don't need someone to say I miss you to know that they do. Silence reveals everything. If you know how to listen. So the next time someone goes quiet on you, before you spiral, before you assume the worst, before you let your mind convince you that you meant nothing. Observe. Detach. And look at the pattern. Because the truth is almost never in what people say. It is in what they keep doing when they think no one is paying attention. If this video revealed something you've been trying to understand about someone in your life, drop the word orbit in the comments below. No explanation needed. Just that one word. You'll know why. And if someone came to mind while you were watching this, someone who's been quiet but still somehow present, share this with them. Sometimes the most honest conversations begin with a video, not a confession. Stay observant. Stay calm. And remember, silence reveals everything.